Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 9 of April Number Corner. All right, let's take a look at what we have to do today. We are going to be looking at our calendar grid, looking at some patterns dealing with volume, and also looking at our calendar collector. Now, yesterday we looked at our calendar collection. Remember, that was up here. We've figured out all of the dimensions of all of the shapes through day 8. And now we're looking at being able to find and look at patterns and volume in your Number Corner book. So you're going to need your Number Corner book today. Please open up to page 64. But before we start, let's go ahead and update your calendar collector and your calendar grid. Today's grid or calendar grid marker looks like this. I was told that the numbers looked a little bit too small. I believe it was like day 6 or day 7 for one of my students. So I just made a slide and enlarged it for us. So go ahead and figure out the volume, figuring out length, width, and height, and putting that in centimeters cubed, right? Because that is the appropriate measure for that. All right, so now if you could take a look at page 64. On page 64, you have a page here that says the volume of a solid figure is the number of cubes of a given size it takes to build that figure. Now, volume is measured in cubic units or cubes. So if we take a look at this shape here, this rectangular prism is 2 cubic units, right? 1, 2. Here are some other examples. Now you're going to see this on page 64. It should be a page that looks very similar to this. So we're going to try to figure out markers for days 6 through 10. That's what these happen to be. And write in our answers. If you want to look back or just refigure, it's up to you. And then we're going to be looking at some patterns. So for this first one, day A, not day A, but for A, it looks like we have to kind of make our thing out just a little smaller. There we go. We'll make this a little bigger. There we go. So for A, we have to take a look at how long, or ask that question, how long is our shape? And I can see that it is 4 cubic units long. And then I have to ask myself, okay, so now we have to figure out the base. The base is then 1 wide. So how many units make up the bottom row? And since we only have 1 row, it looks like 4 times 1, which is 4. And since it being 1, we have 4 centimeters, because each one of those are centimeter blocks, and then cubed. I can't really necessarily make the block the way that it's supposed to. I can't make the 3 up high, so I just put the cubic centimeters right there. All right, so now let's take a look at shape B. Shape B it's a very similar shape to shape A. We're going to look at the patterns later, but let's go ahead and put our text box in and see what we can figure out here. So now again, I ask how wide is, or how long is my base? And my base is still 4 cubic units, or 4 centimeters long. We look at the width, and that's back here to give me the base. So I'll go length times the width. 4 times 2 is 8. I can also count the number of blocks here, and that gives me 8 blocks. We only have 1 row, so then we'll multiply 4 times 2 times 1, and that gives us 8 centimeters cubed. All right. Hopefully you came up with that answer. Now let's look at letter C. Letter C is a little bit different because it's not broken into cubes. All right. But how is it? How are we going to be able to find this? All right, so not thinking cubes, but we still want to figure out how many centimeter cubes fill in this entire shape. So picture this a box and these cubes going in the box. So we will add our text box so we can write our answer. And we're going to leave that one blank just for now because I want you to kind of figure it out. Number 2 asks us that question. So use numbers and show how you figured out figure C. For letter D, we are back to cubes again, and we want to look at how many cubic centimeters fill up that one. Now we can count again, or we can look at the length, which is 2, the width, which is 2, which is our base, and that gives us the number on our bottom row. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2, because we have 2 rows, is 8. So this one is 8 centimeters cubed. Very similar to the other one. Are very similar to box, or same volume as box B. So number 2 asks us to show us how we found out the volume of figure C, right? So let's create our text box here, and we will show our work, right? So the first thing we have to do is figure out our base. So when we use multiple numbers in addition, subtraction, multiplying, and dividing, we want to show what we're going to do first, right? And to figure out volume, we have to multiply the base times the height. Now, the base of letter C is 4. So we're going, or not base, but the length is 4. 4 times 4 centimeters times 2 centimeters. And that will give me the base. That will give us the bottom of our box, right? How many units will fit, or how many of these cubes will fit in the bottom of our box. Then we have to multiply that by the number of layers we have. And our answer is going to be just that. So when we figure out our volume, we are taking the base of the volume and then we are multiplying it by the height. Okay, and then that's going to equal the volume. So let's figure out that answer here. So what is 4 times 2? That's 8. We already figured that out. So this shape is going to fit in down here on the bottom row. And then we have 2 rows of that. So 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16 centimeters cubed. Pretty cool, huh? Nice going. So I'm going to copy that answer, and then I'm going to put that answer in right there. Awesome. Okay, so for the last part, I want you to look at each one of these volumes, boxes A, B, C, and D, and I want you to come up with 3 different patterns you see with these volumes. So compare A to B, B to C, D to C, D to B, D to A, whatever it happens to be. But what are some patterns that you notice? Write those down in your notebooks, and we'll discuss those at a later date. Okay, hopefully everything's going well for you. I know we've kind of been moving through this pretty quickly. If you have any problems with any of the math, please get in contact with your teacher as soon as possible. Other than that, I hope that you are doing well and enjoy math.